gentlemen, here it is. The most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any materials produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
Paranormal Buzz Radio is proud to present Girls vs. Ghosts, The Realm Walker with Kelly McCarville, live, only on Spreaker. And as always, join us in our live interactive chat by going to Spreaker.com or downloading the Spreaker app for your devices. Kelly is a respected paranormal investigator and also a very gifted medium and brings a unique perspective into the paranormal field. Be sure to follow Kelly on all her social media at Facebook, Kelly McCarville Moonspinner, Instagram and Twitter at Moonspinner76, and on the web at mysticalmoonspinner.com. Here's your host, Kelly McCarville.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday evening. I hope you guys are doing well and staying healthy. It has been a super entertaining week, locked in the house. Locked in the house is probably an exaggeration, but yeah, not getting out an awful lot. So, so we decided tonight that we are going to sit and chat, and I have with me on the air tonight the Paranomad, Chris Nielson.
Hello, hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm here. This craziness. The world's a little crazy right now.
Actually, I think it's the opposite of crazy. Everybody's just kind of locked inside.
Yeah. I don't know. All I know is we have food and we have toilet paper. We are not crazy people, like super overly stocked, but we should get by for a little while anyways. So, anywho, tonight we really don't have a specific topic. When Chris and I decided to come on the air tonight, it really is not an interview type thing. So, I mean, we can ask Chris some questions. If anybody doesn't know him or doesn't know things about him, that's fine. But really, we just thought we'd kind of sit here and talk about some different things, got some different topics we thought we'd chat about, but kind of open forum, guys. If there's things that you guys would like to talk about or have us chat about or give you our opinions on, by all means, jump in chat, let us know, and we're going to go with that. But when we were talking earlier tonight about, what did we want to start with, what did we want to talk about, we thought that it would be kind of interesting to talk about how we've both been in the paranormal for quite a while. And when we started doing the paranormal investigating, both of us started from more of a scientific approach. Yes, I've always had my abilities, but when I'd go out to do investigations, I'd always just shut that down. I would turn it off and I'd go in just with the tools and with the recorders and with the gadgets and see what I could do. And it wasn't until later that I started incorporating more of the woo-woo side of things into my investigations. So when we were talking, that's really where Chris started out too, was pure scientific side of things. But where are you at these days, Chris?
Honestly, I've hit the point where I don't even know if the phrase scientific investigation is proper phrasing. I mean, we're going out, we're observing, we're doing things, but as far as like actually utilizing the scientific process or anything like that, I don't I don't know if the word scientific is applicable, which is really not helpful considering the fact I can't come up with a better word for it.
Yeah.
But it's, like I said, it doesn't really subscribe to the scientific method. We're out there just kind of observing things with, electronics that we think is, helping us interact with spirits. I'm kind of up in the air with. Really, I'm in a junction in my career, so to speak, that I don't know where I really stand with any of it, because the technology part of it is, I'm back and forth with that. I'm also kind of feeling like I'm losing my mind on occasion with the fact that I'm starting to see things now. I'm starting to feel and understand things that make no sense, because I'm also opening myself up to the, I guess what you call the intuitive side of investigating. The woo-woo, yeah. To the woo-woo.
And it's interesting that you say that you can't really call it scientific. And I know you've said that before, but I guess, I don't know, I don't stop and think about everything all the time when we're talking. But it really is, because it's not that, nothing that we're really doing could be proven by science. If it could be proven by science, then it wouldn't be paranormal anymore. It would be science.
Oh, yeah. And, aside of it, being a pseudoscience, like I had mentioned, it's also not something that I've observed a whole lot of investigators actually going out and following the genuine scientific method, which is form a hypothesis, test, repeat, peer evaluate, retest, that sort of thing, because it's not ever really something that's repeatable. Unless
it's something that you can debunk and then it repeats.
Yeah, in which case it's not helping our cause anymore. There's a legitimate explanation to it.
Yeah. And it is. I'm just trying to think. So if we don't call it scientific, what do we call that then? I mean, it's data gathering.
Yeah. And I honestly, and that's why I mentioned it's not helpful to oppose the phrase scientific, because I don't have a better phrasing for it. But it's definitely, I'm probably going to keep calling it scientific, just because it relies more on the technology. But yeah, tool-driven.
Like tool-driven investigating, or tool-based, or I don't know. We're going to have to come up with some fun term for it, like woo-woo for the intuitive side of things.
Oh, yeah, and I can see people in the chat, so if anybody has a suggestion, I would say by all means chuck that at us.
Yeah. Because that's the whole, like I'm saying, I mean, that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to find the science behind it. We're trying to in some cases.
Yeah. And honestly, it's almost one of those, you almost can't, it's like psychology. It's, because, and honestly, it is almost exactly like psychology, because we are just essentially dealing with people, and people interact differently in different situations. There's just a insane number of variables to it that, it doesn't.
Inclusive investigating. It includes all methodologies. Which
I would almost think I feel like inclusive would almost be like what I'm doing now.
Including the woo-woo. I would say what we do, Mama Pat. So Mama Pat, for those listening, sorry, I forget not everybody can see chat all the time. Mama Pat was saying inclusive investigated and includes all methodologies. I would say that's what some of us are definitely doing. So like when Chris or I or Mama Pat or even Cynthia, different people, when they go out and investigate, that probably is what we're doing, because we are taking, I don't even know if we're taking all, but we're taking a mix of methodologies and investigating. So we're taking the tools, we're taking the intuitive, we're taking personal experiences. That also, when you think of the methodology things, I know Mama Pat and like Rebecca are big on the history. So that's got to be an aspect of it too.
Well, I think that's entirely what it is we're dealing with. Obviously not 100%, but a huge portion of what we do is history based, because it's about the people that were there before us. We're interacting with the people who were living in this place prior to us showing up. So that is by pretty much every definition of history, unless you're looking at someone who might have come in from somewhere else.
Yeah, which does happen. I mean, we've been
yeah.
in places where that's happened a lot. Mason House, Malvern Manor. I'm sure there's other places that are escaping my mind right now, but Cynthia says, my friends call it nerd reasoning. There is some truth to that. And that's maybe where I struggle from the, quote, scientific side of it is I'm not a big enough nerd, I don't think, sometimes. I don't know. But I think, and we've talked about this more than once, is that I think if you go in and you're simply relying on the tools that you have available and the equipment that supposedly, and I'm going to say supposedly, can pick up spiritual activity or interact with spirits, I don't think you're getting the full picture. I don't think that you're allowing yourself to even experience everything that could potentially be going on.
And I agree with that, but on the other hand, I also want to play devil's advocate to this, where if you're going in with nothing, going out and sharing these stories, I don't feel like you are doing the proper service to the field to just go out and say, like, hey, I experienced this, and somebody comes back like, hey, what data did you collect from that?
How do you prove
and
that?
If you come back and say, oh, well, nothing, it's just what I saw, you're not
validating.
Yeah, you're not validating, which is...
And that's what I've said the whole time, is that if you only go out with the tools or you only go out with your intuition, you are not getting a full picture of it. You're only getting part of the story. And just like you were just saying, it doesn't validate either side. I can go out till I'm blue in the face and saying, this is what the Spirit's telling me, this is what I'm experiencing, this is what they look like, this is what they said. But unless there's somebody besides me who can experience that, then it's just me saying it,
Yeah. So the example just kind of came across my mind. This, not last Saturday before we were all trapped in our homes, the Saturday before where we could still kind of go out maybe, we were out at the Grand Opera House. Steve Weeks invited us out to a cool event. Jim Winters, who did I say? Steve Weeks, because I just read Steve on the screen.
I know, and Steve invited us to one, and then I had to go and be sick.
With the Rona. So
I wasn't sick with the Rona, but I was not feeling well, and I didn't want to take any chances.
But so, like I said, as my abilities, so to speak, are developing, I've caught myself seeing things, and I ended up going up to an upper balcony, just kind of perching and, going out and looking, and I was seeing things. I was seeing somebody walking through the aisles. I was seeing someone on stage with you. I was seeing people taking their seats, that sort of thing. It was a very cool experience for me personally. Now, at that time, I had handed my camera off to somebody else, and she was going around taking pictures. Because I haven't got a chance to actually start going through those pictures yet. If nothing shows up, there's no validation to what I just said. So it's essentially, hey, there's this going on. Take my word for it.
Yeah, and see, and this isn't necessarily validation, and yet you have to take it as a little bit of validation, because right about the same time that I was sitting on the stage and you started seeing somebody walking around up there with me is when the energy on the stage changed. Because I'd been sitting up on the stage at the Grand Opera House all by myself, just kind of in the middle of the stage, and I'd been perfectly fine. It was dark. It wasn't cold, it wasn't hot, it was just completely comfortable, and I was there, and just all of a sudden, the entire energy changed, and there was a spirit that was there that just wasn't comfortable with me being on the stage, and got not like super aggressive, but I'd worn out my welcome, basically. And that was right about the time I think that you were seeing somebody walking around on the stage with me that I started getting uncomfortable, to the point, guys, that I got up and I started moving out of the way, because I just didn't want to be there by myself anymore. So, which, like I said, I don't think this guy was intending to hurt me. He just wanted me out of his space, and who am I to not oblige? Yeah, he was there first. But it does. So does that back it up if two of us have an experience, but they're both an intuitive experience, or do you have to have that tool to back that up? Does it make it less valid if two people experience something without a tool, or would it be more valid if you'd caught it with a tool and I had the experience?
I think for like a single time event where that was the case, I think if we were to catch it intuitively and with a tool, that's something where that night we would have had something close to what you would call a result. Now, because this is kind of a problem I have with myself. I'm always very wishy-washy. I'm playing devil's advocate with myself constantly. So the town I grew up in, Hopkinton, Iowa, has the Lenox College, and it became a recurring event where people were seeing a lady on the second floor of the women's dormitory. And people kept seeing her, kept seeing her, and kept seeing her. And basically, it created that legend in the town that, like, hey, there's a lady up on the second floor of this building, and it was pretty much true. It had established some sort of credibility with pretty much everyone that lived around without any sort of actual documentation of it. So I feel like that accumulation of having those intuitive experiences amongst a bunch of people is just as valid. It's just a matter of how quickly that happens, It's the difference between having an intuitive experience backing up with technology and essentially creating an urban myth or legend.
Yeah, and that, I don't know. There's part of me that thinks that's unfortunate, that just because you didn't capture it with a tool, that makes it less valid. But who, and this is something that I know we've talked about before, who can prove that those tools are actually communicating with a spirit, and that it's not just reacting to something, And
yeah, that's kind of teetering back on the point I made earlier. There's just so many variables to all of it. I feel like the paranormal field has definitely progressed a lot in the last, decade or two, but I also feel like there is still just a ton that we don't know. So it is still very much a kind of stab in the dark kind of process and see what's going on.
Yeah. I don't know. It's nice to have the tools, though. It is. I mean, and I know that I obviously, guys, I lean more towards the woo-woo side of things because that's just who I am and what I do. But it's nice to have the tools to be able to back up the feelings that we're getting anyways, or to back up the messages that we're getting. I mean, I know you guys have all heard the story before about Malvern Manor, how Josh had been getting for weeks prior to me sharing this information with him. He'd had teams out there with their tools gathering gathering data that there was a spirit named Jeff there, and Jeff kept telling people, I'm new here. Well, I came out and did not have any knowledge that these teams had been gathering that information weeks before I was there. And without any tools, I got intuitively that here was this new spirit. And when he finally started talking to me, I got, hey, his name is Jeff. And the thing he keeps saying the most is, I'm new here, I'm new here, I'm new here. Well, that's where that validation comes in, because it wasn't just validating the information that I was getting because all these teams had gotten it with the tools prior. It was validating those tools as well, that, hey, this is probably legitimate, because now you've got the full picture from tools and intuitive giving you the same story. When it's hard is when you have a tool that's supposedly giving one answer and intuitively I'm getting a different answer. That's where I think I probably struggle the most.
Yeah, and I guess that's not crazy relatable to me just yet, just because I don't even trust my own eyes just yet. But I mean, after a certain point, I mean, have you ever had that time where you're like, oh, maybe I'm the one who's wrong here, or is it always been?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's times when people are getting things or they're telling me things that they've got, and I'm like, that's not the feeling that I'm getting, you know? And I would say more so if it's just something that I'm getting as a feeling, that I'll question myself more. But it's really hard to question it when you're sitting at a location and the owner or the manager or whoever is telling a story that, well, so-and-so said that this spirit said this, and the spirit's in my ear saying, I never said that. You know, that's harder for me to deny that, you know, because it isn't like I was trying to feel it out at that moment. I'm sitting there listening to what the person's telling me, not trying to connect with anything, and all of a sudden there's a spirit whispering in my ear, you know, and it's like, oh, well, you know. So Mama Pat says there are a lot of common sense reasons that what the tools pick up comes from the spirit of the departed person, but there's nothing that proves that's where it's scrolled, where it's come from. And that's kind of what I was saying, yeah. Where's the whiskey? The whiskey's right here. You guys just can't see us drinking it, but it's most definitely here. So I don't know where your guys' whiskey are. You got to fend for yourself.
Yeah, tonight's whiskey, we are sipping on a Washington Red Apple, which if you guys want to make it at home, this is an apple whiskey mixed with cranberry juice. I got a little extra fancy, mixed a cran raspberry juice instead, and threw in some fresh strawberry. So
I got strawberry on my drink because I was a girly girl. On occasion, anyways. So I'm not mailing everybody whiskey. Sorry, guys.
Is that even legal?
I don't know. I mean, you have to be able to ship alcohol. People order like wine through the mail to be delivered. It has to be legal.
I feel like there's a licensing involved or something like that.
I don't know. If somebody knows the
because if that's the case, I'm going to ship a bottle of this here apple whiskey to my 2-year-old nephew and.
Well, that's illegal.
You see?
That's
why I'm saying
that's
licensing has to
providing
be involved.
alcohol to a minor.
That's why I'm saying licensing has to be involved.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I mean, I suppose the person who's buying it has to prove that they're of age. I have no idea. Is it your birthday really, Matt? Oh, happy birthday. Are you 29 again?
Not postal because it's flammable.
You know, we should have just asked the mail lady.
Thank you, Rebecca.
So how do they ship wine? Well, not post. It's probably delivered, like UPS or whatever. UPS will do it. See, she's right there with me. Thanks, mail lady. We appreciate you.
Especially more nowadays because, like, we're getting so many things from Amazon Prime because we can't go places.
Right.
Like, as of right now in particular, like, shout out to those people with essential jobs that are, you know, out there working while I've been on the couch for a week.
Oh, that is true. I think they said they would ship the praline liqueur from Oak Alley when we were down there. So there must be a way that it can be done. Maybe if you buy it in person, it's... No, Mom, they probably... Mama Pat, they probably would have had to ship it through UPS or something to get it to you. But, you know. Anyway. Matt, you're lying to me. Your birthday's in October. You're horrible. Anyways, so since you've been, I mean, I already kind of answered this, but I'll ask you, since you've started out investigating more from the tool-driven side, and you are dabbling more in the woo-woo side of things these days, what's your preference? Do you have a preference that you lean more one way or the other?
There's the whiskey. I got it up and close to the mic just so everybody can hear that. Make sure that this is a genuine thing. You know, I honestly don't know if I have a preference per se. It's always very exciting to see a REM pod go off or a K2 spike, and it's just as exciting to, you know, have find an EVP. Like, it's just as exciting to be sitting there for hours listening to audio and then catch that, weird phantom voice. And it's just exciting now as it was when I first started. So I don't think that's ever going to be something that's going to change. It's always very exciting. But as I've, continued to develop, so to speak.
Oh, you're filling out.
I'm growing into a young lady.
No, this is going to make things really awkward.
No, it's just been a weird. It's been a very weird transition process, because it used to be as soon as I experienced something that was more direct than those technology pieces, the tools and stuff.
Sorry.
I'm refusing to look at your screen because whatever made you laugh that hard is not something I want to look at. No, it's, it was always kind of a startling experience. Like, holy crap, I just saw that. Holy crap, I just heard that. What's this feeling? It's so strange, so weird. And as I've grown to embrace it, it's become a very cool, personally profound thing. As, time's kind of progressed, I don't know if I have a favorite. I'm just very interested in finding the bridge between the two, gapping the spiritual world from the what we can observe with our technologies and stuff.
And I think part of the reason that I struggle, and I guess I would say that I lean more towards the intuitive side of things, is partially because, you of all people know how easily I can squirrel. And if I'm out and about with my tools in my hand, especially, God forbid, somebody hand me a camera, I get so distracted feeling out the room or talking to the spirits that whatever it is that's in my hand, there's so many videos of me videotaping the floor or a ceiling because I'm distracted and the camera just points at wherever my hand happens to go. Oh, careful. Sorry, he's refilling my drink and it got really full. But I forget. I forget to use the tools. I try to do good about at least having a digital recorder going, but cameras are not a good thing for me. Yeah.
And honestly, it's one of those things that it happens in the reverse too. So I spent, countless years behind an LCD screen, and I was missing out on genuine experiences and interactions. And actually, I think I kind of slowed the onset of opening myself up to a lot of stuff because, like I said, I spent so much time behind a screen. So I think that works both ways. You might be getting distracted by things going on. You might not be able to focus on the technology, but I've noticed sometimes I focus so much on the technology that I forget to have an experience.
Yeah. But I think we're getting better at that. I think that, and sometimes it takes reminders for people to stop and just let themselves have those experiences and see what it is that you feel when you walk into a room. And that's part of the reason, like, I do the intuitive retreats that I do, or that I do the investigations the way that I do. Even a couple weeks ago when we were out at the Grand Opera House, the group that Chris and I were leading, when we'd go into an area, I'd tell everybody, now just take a second to feel the room out. Don't worry about the tools yet. Just how does it feel to you? What areas are you drawn to? Where do you feel like you should go to investigate? Use that feeling to decide where you're going to go to use the tools. And I know even when we go out together, there's times that I'm reminding you, I'm like, stop a minute. What do you feel? But I do think it's really cool how we work together when we're out places. It's just kind of weird.
You have to give me a second. I'm kind of winded. You might have heard the dog barking in the background. I just hauled a 40-pound beagle down a flight of stairs at a semi-sprint trying to get back.
Breathe.
No, but I agree. It is. I think we have a a very good kind of dynamic to us. And it's, for a lot of reasons. I have a lot of my focus on the technology-based stuff. I've got that solid background behind me. And as things progressed, I also noticed the kind of difference between how we experience things. Mm-hmm. So I'm more prone to seeing things. You're more prone to hearing things, and you don't see them, or so you claim.
Well, I don't usually.
But, it is very much like a yin-yang kind of thing going on.
Even with us, you're getting more of a whole picture because we can put the visual with the what they're saying, what they're, and I can describe, it's the weirdest thing. Like, so we were at Shaler, with Raven Rose, and we're upstairs on the 4th floor, I think it was. Is that 4th floor? I don't know. We're up in the very top floor. And there was a spirit over in the corner, and we're both kind of like approaching this spirit, and he's saying, well, this is where he's at, this is what he looks like, and I'm like, and this is what he's saying. So between the two of us, the people that were there with us
we're two halves of a whole psychic.
Aww. Between the two of us, the people that were there with us, we're getting the whole story, we're getting the whole picture, so to say. But neither one of us alone was, because I can see him in my head, but I can't see him with my eyes. You know?
We had two things. Yes, it was a 40-pound beagle. The beer is for another night. This is Whiskey Wednesday, Sutton. And Cynthia corrects us. This is 3rd floor. Fourth floor is the one, like, up above.
Oh.
So.
Okay. Technically, I have a confession to make. It's bourbon, isn't it?
Bourbon is a type of whiskey.
Well, see, I don't understand that. If it's a type of whiskey, just call it frickin' whiskey.
It's a fingers and thumbs thing.
What? There's fingers and thumbs in here?
Like, all thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs. You can't have just been hearing this expression for the first time.
Whatever. I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about, but sure. It's bourbon. Chris, I'm working at it slowly, but I don't have as much hair on my chest as you Chris's do, so I still have to do
all bourbons are whiskey,
fruities.
but not all whiskeys are bourbons.
It's apple Jim Beam, and it's yummy. All right. So yes, it's a 40-pound beagle, and he's a fat ass. Somewhat adult children. I'm just trying to catch up on chat a little bit. So, but yeah, it is interesting to kind of put the two things working together. And I don't know if it's just, I don't know that it's even just because we have the different abilities where you're more the clairvoyant, I'm more the I don't know that I'm clairaudient, but the cognizant. We just have good interaction. We have good luck when we're out places together. Because, like, my God, that night that we were at Cambry and we were doing the Estes method, that was phenomenal. The responses that we were getting. And I don't even remember how long we were going with that. Mama Pat, do you remember how long the session was? But it was going, and we were doing the Estes method, and Chris had the headphones on, and Mama Pat and I and Steph were there, and we were asking the questions. And it was crazy accurate, the answers that we were getting. And, I mean, it wasn't even hesitant answers. It was, we'd ask the question and the answer had come right away. We've just had really, really good luck with that. They can't see you shake your head, just a reminder.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but so, do you want to explain the Estes method in case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about?
Oh, look in the chat. I don't think anybody doesn't know what it is. But for anybody listening after the fact that might not know what the Estes method is, basically, the Estes method is a form of ITC, or instrumental transcommunication. It's basically a method of using that kind of helps remove some of the, I'll call it symptoms of pareidolia, which is our, brain's weird need to, fill in the gaps. And basically the way we do it is we'll hook up an ITC device. Sometimes it's a spirit box. Sometimes it's a phone-based application. I think that night I was bouncing between Spiritus and Necrophonic.
Yeah, I don't remember for sure.
And basically what happens is I'll put on a pair of soundproof headphones. I will either wear a blindfold so I can't see anything in the room, or I will basically just not look at anybody, so I'm not getting any sort of inclination of what people are talking about. And I will spit out whatever comes out of the device. And the reason that is because, say, so I like going back to this example because it is so kind of prevalent to the topic. At one point, Kelly and I were doing an investigation at an old DHS building with some former employees, and we were in a room, and we were using an ITC device, and a word came out, and all three of us heard a different word. Mm-hmm. It's, an old DHS building, so huge building, bunch of rooms. I heard dorms because, college, and it's just big collection of rooms. The former employee heard the word forms, and that's also very applicable because she was, we were actually at the time in her office where she spent a bunch of time filling out forms.
Right.
And neither of us can remember what Kelly thought she heard, but it sounded similar, and it was also extremely applicable. So basically, when you put on those headphones and you remove all outside stimulus, you are removing that personal bias, which is what she's referring to.
And it's hard, So one of the things that I respect about Chris when he's doing that Estes method is he's very adamant that if there isn't something that comes through super, super clear, he is not going to repeat it back to us. If it's questionable at all, he'll hang on to that himself. It's nice. But we were doing, to go back to the time that we were doing it at Cambry House, he couldn't hear the questions that we were asking. He didn't know that, he knew we were on Facebook Live, but obviously he wasn't following Facebook Live or anything like that. And Chad Derry, who is one of the people who has a lot to do with Cambry House, he's out there probably, I would guess, almost as much as Rebecca is, had not been in chat up until quite a ways into it, and he popped into chat. And I don't know if we'd even said hi to him yet or not, but he had just popped into chat, and Chris goes, dairy. And his brain, of course, thought dairy like moo, cow, dairy, And then a second later, he goes, Chad. And he kind of popped his head up and looked at us like that, like Chad dairy. And I'm like, so I motioned for him to take his headphones off, and I'm like, yeah, he just popped into chat. So there is no possible way that Chris could have known at that moment that was when Chad had popped into chat, so just super cool stuff. We have a few questions in chat, so I want to go back and try to answer some of these. So Leslie is asking, do you feel investigating with a psychic or medium draws in those spirits, making the investigation more productive? I'll let you go first.
Honestly, it kind of depends. I feel like it can, but I also don't think it necessarily has to. Like I had mentioned earlier, we're essentially sitting around dealing with personality. We're dealing with a bunch of people in a building that don't have the meat suit anymore. So say Kelly walks into the building and they're like, oh, she can, hear me. Or they see me come in, they're like, oh, he can see me. Well, I'm a bit of a prick. She's kind of a bitch. They might not want to interact with us. And that would actually almost kind of hinder things. On the other hand, if they feel like, oh, hey, this is, someone I can jive with, this is someone I get along with, they might be a little more open to that interaction. So I think it's just like everything else we do. It's very case-by-case basis. I think as a general rule, yeah, it never hurts to have a psychic medium along just because they have that extra insight. And I think a lot of spirit in particular places. I was just listening to another podcast recently where it seems like, spirits of places like Waverly Hills and Villisca and Trans-Allegheny, they're almost getting burned out of the same investigators every night. But if you go into somewhere new and they're having this first time ever option for interaction in the longest time, I think a lot are going to take it.
Yeah. And yeah, it can almost kind of be a mixed thing if it's the first investigation there, because sometimes they're like, oh my God, it's finally somebody to talk to. And other times they're almost like, what is this? Oh my gosh, they can see me. They can hear me. I can't tell you how many times I've had a spirit who's like, they can, you know, that commercial with Santa Claus and the M&Ms, and it's like, he is real. They are real. I get that a lot from spirits when I'm in places. When I see them, they're like, oh, yeah, she can see me. And I'm like, they can see me, you know? But to answer Leslie's question from my side of things, you know, what Chris said is absolutely accurate. Spirits are just like people. They're going to be more drawn to this person or to that person just because of who that person is and their personality. However, what the spirits have explained to me is that if somebody who has abilities is at a location, we look different to them. And they've described it to me in a lot of different ways, but depending on the spirit that was talking to me. But they've told me that I sparkle, I glow, I shine, I shimmer. And really the only thing that I can think is, like, maybe they're seeing our auras and my aura looks different than everybody's because I'm there trying to communicate with them. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. They haven't told me shit.
But, I mean, they've used words like beacon or bug light. We've been referred to as a bug light. You know, the lights that glow in the bugs.
I was going to say, that teeters on it, like, almost kind of...
Well, they don't run into me and zap out, but...
Oh, that you know of.
Not that I've noticed, anyways. But I do think that it can help draw the spirits closer to you and maybe encourage them to interact more. However, on the opposite side of that, it can have an opposite effect depending on where you're out. We were out at an investigation at Edinburgh Manor, and it was me and Mama Pat and Cynthia and Roland and Taylor. And I can't remember if Emmett was there that time or not, but wherever Mama Pat and Cynthia and I were, the spirits were there. They were talking with us. They were interacting with us. And Roland and Taylor were getting like next to nothing. And then finally, Mama Pat and I left. And I think Cynthia went out to the van to sleep because I think she might have worked that morning. She was super tired. So she went out to sleep. But after we all left and it just left the Muggles in Edinburgh Manor still, they started getting interaction. Well, was it just because they were drawn to us and our personalities? Maybe. Or was it drawn to us because you had 3 people who have embraced their abilities? You know what I mean? It's hard to say which factor of that is. Or were they drawn to us because I've been out there a million times, you know, kind of like they know you better than other people because you've lived out there for a freaking week. Anyways. All right. So next question that we had from Shay. So this is kind of like your test run for podcasting here tonight. It's
not my first podcast, but it's a warm up. Yeah.
You're not technically a guest this time, though. You're kind of like a co-host. So
I'm a co-host?
You're a co-host for tonight.
Ooh.
But next week you're going to be what?
I'm going to be a host. Yeah, I guess this is time for my shameless plug. So starting next week, my original plan was to go April 1st. I'm bumping that up a day to March 31st is going to be the debut of my upcoming podcast. So it will be called the Daylight Paranormal Podcast for, kind of a number of fun reasons, which I won't go into too far in depth right now because I've got to have something to talk about for the intro. And I'm being hosted through Podbean, and it's all going to be recorded live via Facebook. So basically the podcast is going to occur for the starting process of it as a Facebook Live, gives people kind of the opportunity to interact in a place that they know and can access very well. And if I find something better along the way, of course, I'll go along with something, whatever's most convenient for future viewers and listeners. But yeah, it's going to be just this fun kind of cavalcade of paranormal goodness. It's going to be, I'm going to have guests on. My very first guest is going to be the always lovely Mystical Moon Spinner. I'm already kind of working on a schedule for guests, and sometimes it's going to be me with an open chat, just kind of babbling, ranting. I realize I have a lot of pent up thoughts, feelings, and opinions, and I thought it was just a good opportunity to let those out. So for the time being, it's going to be every other Tuesday, starting the 31st of March. After that, it's going to be whatever the following Tuesday is after that. I'll be doing something with Kelly. The Tuesday after that, actually, I'll be on with my dad. And we'll just kind of keep on rolling from there. It's going to be a good time, fun time. My big thing of it was I wanted something that felt good, felt right. And what came to mind was for all of my pair peeps and peepettes out there who are actually out there doing investigations, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say this. There is that weird 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning kind of phase that you go through when you're on an investigation, and you're just kind of tapped out doing the investigation stuff, and you go to a common area, a kind of just relaxed place, and it's you and it's a few of your friends, and you're just sitting around kind of talking shop with paranormal stuff. And that's very much the feel I want it to be. And, I want it to be a open conversation for, people that, are in the chat and kind of, want to talk about stuff. And it's a chance to kind of get to know the guests I'll have on the show. And when it's just me, maybe it's time to just kind of chat about a particular topic, but it's not going to be anything I don't do anything formally. So I'd like it to be something like that.
Very cool. So I'm behind in chat, guys, so I'm trying to catch up. So yeah, Mama Pat made a comment that says when she was at a location in Wisconsin, it was like they were trying to figure out what I was doing and how it worked. Like they had no one talk to them before. And that's what I was saying too, is that I've experienced that a lot when we go into new locations, that they're just kind of like, what's this? And do we talk to them? How can they hear us? It's really cool. And I was just thinking, Mama Pat, if that's the place you're talking about is the place I was thinking about, I would like to go there sometime and just see what we get. But, so yeah, Emmett was there at Edinburgh with us. I couldn't remember for sure who all was there. And Stephanie. Oh, that's right. That was the time we had Stephanie come out too, because she worked there for a while. Did you know that?
I did, yeah.
I didn't know if I told you that, yeah. So, plugging is never shameless. Yeah, you talk while I read.
Oh, what am I talking about?
I don't know.
Well, this is poorly thought out. Yeah, see, I'm trying to hop through the list just above you. Scroll faster, woman.
Stop.
Scroll faster.
Okay, I'm at the top. Leave me alone. Yes, Tornado Memorial Park, Mom. That's what I'm talking about. That would be cool to go back to that. That place, I remember that place even from as a little girl, and it weirded me out. Have you ever heard of the Tornado Memorial Park?
I can't say that I have.
I think, and Mama Pat will tell us, but I think it's somewhere up around Door County. But basically, there was a fire that had broken out, and like a big fire, and it was wiping out towns and just killing a bunch of people, and it was moving towards this little, and I'm going to totally botch this story, guys, so bear with me because I'm going from what my poor little memory can remember. But this little bitty town thought they were going to be safe, and it hopped the river, and it was coming at them, and it was so hot, it was just destroying everything that was coming at them. And the people, I mean, they tried to escape it, they tried everything, they covered themselves in blankets, they tried to hide it. There were people who even, like, a bunch of people jumped out, and this is the part of it that I remember the most. There were people that jumped in the well thinking, I'm in a well, I'm in water, I'll be fine. And they died, even in the well. Just because it was so hot and so intense, and the air was so, you couldn't breathe. And just, I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, because naturally fire just kind of burns up the oxygen around you.
Weird. And I don't eat, I mean, this was before I even really embraced all of my abilities and knew what they were and everything. And that place just weirded me out. It's a place that I've always remembered. So, I know the answer to this. Chris, what's your favorite location?
Well, I don't know, Kelly. You tell me, which one of your kids is your favorite? See, that's not a fair question because everything's different, everything's special. Because you can't answer a question like that. If I had to go with what has stuck with me personally, I'm going to have to go with, we've mentioned already, the Edinburgh Manor. And it is, it's probably entirely circumstantial of me, the circumstances that I was there. For anybody who doesn't know the story, in a fit of young and dumb in the early 2010s, I closed myself alone in the Edinburgh Manor for about 5 days. I was working on a documentary at the time, and the plan was to film a 110-hour paranormal investigation essentially alone. I mean, throughout the process, I had a former staff member come out for a bit, kind of poke around with me. My dad was there, my brother was there. But as a whole, I was there by myself. And I went through the editing process, realized, holy crap, I went far too big with this. And in a fit of even more dumb, I was like, oh, well, let's just make it shorter. I'll do it again for 30 days.
Because that makes it better.
And it made it worse. And it honestly, I think it was just all the circumstances of it, because it was my time to, I don't know, like I said, I was teetering on the young side. I was a little stupid. I felt like I had to, prove my grit and stuff like that. And it was just all such a cool experience for me. I got to spend, a week in this really cool, historically interesting location, doing what I loved. And I think that's what stuck with me more than the bad stuff. And don't me wrong, there was some not, fantastic experience, because that's a lot to subject yourself to. When I think of my scariest happy place, I gotta go.
Scariest happy place. I love it.
I gotta go with Edinburgh Manor.
You want to let the beagle in before he drives crazy neighbors with his balloon?
I'm coming, Hambo.
Edinburgh's it's an interesting place, that's for sure. There's places that we would love to get into. The Tornado Park, I doubt anybody's ever investigated there. Wyalusing in Prairie du Chien, old military school, I believe. It's apartment buildings now. Those people are in for a rude awakening. Just some really cool places. But, one of the things that Chris and I have talked about quite a bit is just that it seems like we've been so busy over the last year that we really haven't had a lot of opportunities to get out and just investigate places. Just him and I, and do like some filming, which we've been talking that we want to try to do. So I'd be interested to know from everybody who's listening and in chat, if we were going to go out and do like an hour filming of a location, where would you like to see us go? What kind of location would you like us to go to? Do you have suggestions? And while we're there, what kind of experiences would you like us to do? I'm going to ask you to answer those things too, but I'm asking the people who are listening to answer. 40-pound beagle.
I just hauled the beagle in. Oh, goodness.
To be fair, just so people don't think I make Chris do everything, where we're sitting, I can't get out. So that's why he's had to let the dog in and out.
I wouldn't let her fool anybody. I still have to do it.
Oh, whatever.
You can't.
Plus, I can't hoist the 40-pound fat ass up and down the steps the way he does.
That's what I was getting at.
That dog is heavy. He's solid as can be.
He's thick.
Anyways. The Civil War Hospital in Prairie du Chien. That would be phenomenal. the medical museum, because I think that's all the same place. The Civil War Hospital and the medical museum. I think it's all the same.
Oops. Honestly, yeah. I mean, I feel like there's potential because the Villa Louis is. I don't think they do actual ghost hunts, but I know they're open to kind of a looser interpretation of the ghosts of perishing past, that sort of thing. Because I'm slightly familiar with the area. So I mean, I don't know. I couldn't say one way or the other, but I feel like it could be kind of cool.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not following chat because I'm a horrible person. Yes, Edinburgh is kind of different inside and out. And you know, that's something to mention too. And I guess that's something that we haven't really brushed on yet. So
you
many
brush
times.
On that?
I would.
Let's brush on that.
All right, let's brush on that. It's funny because, and I was guilty of this too. A lot of times when people go out to a location to investigate, they pull up to the building and they go straight inside. And they carry everything inside, and they're totally not paying any attention to outside, and they're focused on the building, the house, we forget to pay attention to what's outside. And I'm guilty of this. I absolutely am. I've been at Edinburgh, I can't even tell you how many times, and I've never investigated outside.
Never.
I mean, I would go outside and I'd like walk around the building a little bit, but I never ventured anywhere.
There's a nice lady in the backyard. You should go say hello sometime.
Well, I don't know about the backyard, but over in the side yard is where.
Oh yeah, that's cool too.
You know, and it wasn't until I hosted an event out there, and I actually had Chris was out there, and Chris Sutton was there, and Dan Class, and
Mountain Man was out there.
A bunch of people. So, what's that?
I said my old man was out there.
Oh yeah, because it was AOP at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there was a bunch of people that were out there, but we had Sutton with us, of course. So Sutton has opened my eyes to a lot of things, and we went outside to
Sutton doesn't do that.
He does. Stop it. He's, you know, to be fair, he's the one who started me on whiskey first.
Oof.
It was nastiness, and it burned from my throat to my toes. But it was him who started me on whiskey first.
So maybe we should be just thanking Chris Sutton for Whiskey Wednesday.
Or blaming him for Whiskey Wednesday.
I'm going to go with thanking, yeah.
Thanking, blaming, one of those. Yeah, one of those. So we went out to, basically there's a side yard of Edinburgh Manor. There's this field area next to it. And I'd never walked over there before. And it was weird. You know, I know that they had said that there was a pauper's grave out there, and I didn't know that. But as we're walking through there, I'm starting to get the information, and it was, I guess it bothers me, I would say, that I didn't know that was there, because as I'm walking through there, here all of a sudden are all these new spirits that are talking to me, and some of them, they were telling me, you know, basically how there was some sort of, I don't want to say a plague, especially in today's world, but there was something.
Why on earth why would a plague
I don't
be
know.
a weird topic right now?
But there was some sort of sickness that was going around, that people were dying, and they were dying quickly, and they were burying them quickly. And there was a lot of people that were just basically saying, I was sick and then I was dead. And it was so quick, and that was kind of the impression that I was getting from everybody, until I got to this one lady that was up towards what I would call the front of the pauper's grave, which is more towards the road. But that was the one that struck me the most. And I don't remember if I even told everybody or if I was just telling Chris Sutton. And I think oh my goodness, I just hit your headphones. I think you were there with me at that time too, because I remember walking with you through the field. But we got towards the front of the paupers where they were burying people, and this one lady, and she wasn't even mad. I think that was the thing that got me about her. She wasn't even mad, but she was telling me how she had been sick, and she was gonna die, and she knew it, but she wasn't quite dead when they buried her. She was almost dead. And they thought she was. It wasn't like they're like, oh, she'll die soon, so we're going to bury her anyways. They thought she was dead, and they buried her. And she wasn't quite dead when they buried her. And that one just, it got to me because how sad she was. I want to say she was in her 20s. She wasn't very old.
Well, I mean, to be fair, even if it's not a pauper cemetery, but hearing people alive was unfortunately teetering on common practice back in the days because there was no real
there was
way
no
to know
way to
for sure.
check. Yeah,
well, I mean,
no.
there's ways to check, but no one was doing it.
But and that was part of it, and that's part of what happened is people were dying so quickly, and whatever was wrong with them, it was really contagious. So they were putting them in the ground as quick as they could to try to keep people from getting sick. And they were doing, and that's what I was saying is she wasn't even mad. She was like, I get it. They needed to put me in the ground. I just unfortunately wasn't dead yet. And oh my God, it broke my heart, you know. But I never had gone outside prior to that, so yeah. Investigating with different people can definitely open your eyes to a lot of different things. So Rockcliffe and Hannibal, yeah, that's fine. Where is Lexington, Missouri? I have no idea.
You gotta follow along the chat, lady.
I try.
To answer Leslie, actually, my dad and I are both the free hug guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. We both do a little bit of that. That was actually because of our first expo with Kelly. While you're scrolling through, I'll kind of fill in. So Kelly and Mama Pat do these really cool expos, and they kind of became a regular thing for my dad and I to do it. And our first one together was Cedar Rapids. And we were right next to the speaker door. And I'm like, oh my gosh, high traffic. This is amazing. We're going to talk to so many people. Nobody showed up. And we're like, well, we need to make ourselves more inviting because at the time I was this long-haired, hippie-looking dude. And there's my dad who's tattoos. This big, beefy guy. We're both covered in tattoos. And we put out a sign, free hugs. We put out candy for everybody. And yeah, that's basically how the free hugs thing started.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Coyote and his drum is amazing. Oops, I went crazy. The small town past Richmond, Missouri, and the whole town is haunted.
If you go up, she'll tell you just to Google it.
Okay. I'm getting there. He's impatient with me scrolling because I read slower than him, obviously. Yes, we walked over her grave. Yeah, and it was definitely tough to feel. Chris Sutton was talking about the gal that I was mentioning in the pauper's grave. Wasn't it Edinburgh that some group had come in and told the spirits? Yes. Yes, Mama Pat. And funny enough, that was one of the investigations I had gone out when Chris and his dad were out there.
It was November 2017.
I don't know how you do that. Craziness how you just remember dates like that. But anyways, so Chris and his dad were out investigating Edinburgh Manor, and I can't remember if he called me or messaged me. I don't remember what it was, but Chris got in touch with me and he says, hey, no pun intended, it is absolutely dead out here. And I'm like, well, that's not normal because Edinburgh's almost always got something going on. And he's like, well, yeah, there's nothing going on. Would you want to come out and see what you get, you know? So me, being the good friend that I am, packed up and drove to Edinburgh Manor to help out these guys. Or I just wanted to go to Edinburgh Manor and investigate, one or the other. It was both, probably. But so I went out to Edinburgh and I joined them. And Chris and I were just walking through the building. And literally there were no spirits, none in the building. It was disturbingly quiet. And that's what Chris had been saying, is that there was no feeling, no anything that was going on out there. And it was really weird, guys. And these are the type of stories, Pat said this back further in chat, that it's hard to believe sometimes the stories that you hear from other people. It's still hard to sometimes rationalize it, even when you were the one who experiences it. And when you're telling it back, it sounds like you're making shit up, you know? But we went downstairs and we were back in, not the boiler room, but more towards kind of the laundry room. And for anybody who's familiar with Edinburgh Manor, there's these two blue doors that are down there. it was quiet absolutely everywhere. And we got in front of those doors and they were vibrating. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And literally, I mean, you could hear these doors vibrating. And if you watch them, you could see them kind of shaking. And for whatever reason, it dawned on me, they're all outside. That's why they're not in the building. They're all outside. So we went upstairs and we went outside. And sure enough, and this is, see guys, this is one of my downfalls. When I'm walking around in the Muggle world, I have to shut off my abilities. Because if I leave it on, then I'm seeing everything, hearing everything, experiencing everything, and I can't do that. And so I naturally have this like protective bubble around me so I don't experience everything. So when I pull up to a location, I'm not paying attention. I have everything shut off until I go into the building. So I totally missed the fact that the spirits were all walking around outside until we went back outside. And there they all are, walking around and just kind of lingering outside the building. And I finally found this one lady who, I don't know what to call her other than like a head nurse. But you could tell she was like an authority and she wasn't a patient. She worked there. And I sat down and I talked to her and I'm like, what's going on? And she said, we were all kicked out of the building. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, somebody came in here and she thought it had been a couple weeks prior to this, that somebody had come into the building and she made everybody who was, quote, bad leave the building. And me going outside and just having my guard down, my little friend, the creeper, came up and was hanging out by me too. And I'm like, well, that's not okay. You guys can go back in the building. And she says, we tried. We weren't able to. And so I asked my little friend, the creeper, I said, will you try to follow me inside? And he, of course, said yes, because he is a wonderful little guy and he loves me. And so we tried walking inside and we went in the front door and he walked in right behind me. And so I kind of turned back to the nurse and I told her, I said, I think you guys can come back inside. And she says, I'll take care of it. And so we went back inside and your dad had been sitting in the command room. And so we went in and I was telling him what was going on. And as we're standing there talking, I could see the spirits all filing in the front door, just coming back into the building. But what in the hell? Who thinks it's their right to go into a location and say, y'all got to leave? That made me mad. That still makes me mad to think about it. It's just, anyways. Okay. I went on a rant. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, they were pretty, Chris Sutton said that we were there once and the spirits were pissed because some knucklehead tried to cross all of them. You know, the thing about that, Chris, is they're still leery. When we go out there even now, they're leery now to communicate with people and to interact with people. I think because they're scared that people are going to make them leave again. Leslie, keep your eye out. We're always doing not live investigations, but we're hosting public events. So just keep your eye out. Either follow Chris or I or both of us.
Unless the Rona gets us, we got a really cool one coming up May 2nd.
Yeah, unless we have to cancel it because of everything that's going on. We do have one at Malvern Manor on May 2nd, but we're seeing how things go for the moment for that. I'm catching up with chat here. It's Wednesday, Chris, just so you know. It's Wednesday. Some say the Civil War battlefields linger there. I don't know where that is. They're talking about someplace that I don't know. The Folly Theater, known as the Pink Lady, opened around 1900 and is haunted by an early manager. We'll have to read back through these notes and check out some of these places. Yeah, so just to mention, Shay was asking, when is our expo rescheduled to? So the expos that Chris was talking about, Mama Pat and I host 4 expos a year, 5 if we could find a location again for Waterloo. And our first one was scheduled to be in Dubuque on April 25th and 26th. 24th, 25th, 25th, 26th.
Something like that.
Somewhere around
Either
there.
way, it's not a thing anymore.
But because of everything that's going on right now and, you know, everybody saying don't have gatherings of more than 10 people, blah, 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 we just didn't want to take the risk of having that large of an event that soon. So Mama Pat and I sat down and, you know, kind of put our heads together and said, what's our best options? And we did decide to push the Dubuque Expo out. Thankfully, the location was able to work with us, and we were able to reschedule that event. So the Dubuque Psychic and Paranormal Expo now is going to be August 22nd and 23rd, still at the Grand River Convention Center in Dubuque. And, Mama Pat and I are just really glad we didn't have to cancel it. We were able to reschedule, but that does push it out past the Cedar Rapids event. So our first Psychic and Paranormal Expo of the year that we're going to hold, fingers crossed, is the Cedar Rapids Psychic and Paranormal Expo on July 18th and 19th. So, let's see. I'm in Excelsior Springs. Yeah, we had to reschedule. Yes, Mama Pat, I need a keeper, and you guys do a good job of it.
I'm doing my best, but it is
a
test
job for multiple people. So, Melbourne Manor on May 2nd, we have an event scheduled. That's going to be a super cool event. We've actually got, so Chris will be out there. I'll be there. We'll have Josh Hurd, who's the manager at Melbourne Manor. You want to know something about that location or the spirits there, Josh is the person to talk to. But then we also are very lucky to have Brandy Green of Ghost Hunters International that will be joining us. So she was on several seasons of the show on Sci-Fi, and she's a super cool person. So, the fun thing about that event, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is we're going to have a really good mix of people there investigating, because you'll have Brandy, who she'll be the first one to tell you she's a skeptic. She doesn't know that she necessarily believes in all of this. She is absolutely tool driven.
Which is crazy doing it as extensively as she has.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to say that she never feels anything or that she'll completely disregard anything she feels, but if she feels anything, the only thing that's going to encourage her to do is grab a tool, which I have a lot of respect for. That's
honestly,
her
I'm
method.
kind of the same though. It's one of those things. I feel like I'm seeing something. My first instinct is to still grab a camera.
Yep. Yeah. So you've got the absolutely data driven side of it. And then you'll have Josh, who is, like I said, he is the Malvern expert. He absolutely knows everything that's going on. And by the way, the spirits, though, they absolutely love him, and they love to mess with him, because if you get him good, he screams like a little girl, and it's a good time. And then you've got Chris, who kind of walks the line, or as Mama Pat says, plays for both teams, where he works with the tools, but he also dips into his woo-woo side of things as well. And then you've got me, who typically goes more the intuitive side and uses the tools as a backup. So you really got like a full spectrum of investigators.
I don't know what post you made recently, but it referenced like full spectrum. That clapping sound you heard was a high five, because that's quality.
I know. I was pretty proud of myself. Normally I don't come up with shit like that. I was so very proud of myself. Anyways. But yeah, that's May 2nd at Malvern Manor. There's 2 different levels of tickets. So general admission ticket starts at 7 o'clock. You get to come in, do the investigation and everything. And then there is a VIP ticket. That starts at 5 o'clock. You're going to get early access to the venue. We'll feed you dinner over at the Classic Cafe, assuming they're open. If not, we will have to have them deliver it to the manor, and we will figure that out. We will feed you, though. And then you get a meet and greet with everybody on the private side with the VIP, and then you get the investigation. And thanks to the lovely ladies of REP Paranormal, you have the opportunity to spend the night at the manor all night. They'll be staying there overnight as well, and they will be the ones who are your host if you would like to actually sleep at the manor. So that would be Kim and Allison. We're super excited that they're helping us out with that. So Malvern would be awesome, Leslie. You should come. And yes, we can't wait to see Christy. Okay, you talk. I'm ready.
What am I talking about? You keep telling me to talk, and I don't know what I'm talking about.
If we add Chris into the team of keepers, less work for Mama and I.
Are you guys making salary? Because I'm not making anything off of this full-time job.
You guys get the benefit of my love. Does that not count?
I mean, it counts, but
Come on. Okay, Sierra, not until July, Chris. Really hoping everything has calmed down by then. Yeah, we're really, really hoping that by July for the Cedar Rapids Expo that we're able to get that one done. And Sutton, you should join us. Reading back through. That's not quite what I said, but something. Anyways. So yeah, we kind of, like I said in one of my posts, we kind of bounced all over the frickin' place. You guys are listening to me type. Sorry. Because Shay, talking about keepers, is asking me, am I going to do a card pull tonight? Yes, I would like to, like I normally do, but I have not grabbed a deck of cards. Thanks, babe. I really should sit on the outside, obviously. So I'll do a card pull before we end the night, but it's a volunteer position, Chris, and once signed up, you're in it for life. Sorry. What was that? Oh, we're going to have to hear his response when he comes back. What was that?
For those of you that might have missed it from the other room, I said, bite me.
Awesome. Yeah, well, you know what? No, you're signed up for life. You have no way out. You can check in, but you can never leave.
God, I love that song.
I know, it's a good song. We are getting tangled up with our wires here. That's because you don't have your headphones in. This is where the extra wires are. Okay. So we've been on for over an hour now. What do we have coming up? What are we doing?
As of right now, quarantine. It's myself and you and Scott here hanging out.
And Scott. You have to explain, Scott.
Okay, so since you guys can't see this as a video live, so in order of things you might see if you were looking at us from the computer's perspective, there is Kelly, there is a cat, there's myself, and behind us there is this roll of toilet paper. Yes, I know, a great commodity. We have it, and I painted it up to look like Wilson from Castaway, and his name is Scott, and that's going to be our friend for the foreseeable future. So I don't know, it's hard to say what we have going on next because we don't know what's going on next because, well, with this whole COVID-19 keeping us trapped in our house, it's hard to say what our next move is. So ideally, if we get out of here by end April?
Mid-April is the next thing that hasn't been canceled.
No, that's you. So
yeah. For those who are keeping track of said Scott and what he is made of, I have already informed Mr. Christopher that if it becomes a necessity, I will sacrifice Scott if I need to wipe my hiney. So just letting you know.
The scene from Castaway is like, I'm sorry, Wilson. It's gonna be a lot like that.
Yeah, if we get down to our last roll, Scott better fear for his life. Anywho, so yeah, there's the Ashmore event that's coming up mid-April that I haven't seen anything that's canceled yet, but I don't know what their thoughts are for sure on that, but we're kind of playing that one by ear.
Hush.
Oh my gosh, what did you do to her?
Well, I tried to make her stop trying to eat my headphones.
Mama Pat, I'd rather have Wilson's fate. Yeah, Wilson just floated off in an ocean. Scott's gonna meet the back end of a nasty...
I say Wilson's probably hanging out in like a Texas-sized pile of trash in the Pacific. Poor Scott.
Poor Scott. Poor Scott. That's hilarious. I don't even know. What do we have on our calendar? Why are you not looking up our calendar?
Well, because the next thing I know of that's on my schedule, you're not telling me.
Well, I can't tell you. It's a secret.
See, so
Chris has a birthday.
Next thing would be May for me, and that is Malvern, which we've thoroughly discussed.
Well, we had next weekend, not this coming weekend, but next weekend would have been Haunticon, but that actually got rescheduled to September. And then Chris has a birthday coming up the second weekend of April, so I have something planned for him that I can't tell him about, but he's going to like it. Sutton did say that Ashmore got canceled, so
Oof.
I figured if it hadn't been that it was probably gonna be. So
also, I don't know why I'm just seeing COVIDed for the first time, but thank you, Sutton. That is that's something I'm not going to let go of. Everything that gets canceled from now on due to COVID. I'm going to say COVIDed.
Yeah.
That's going to be my thing.
So then based on that, our next thing that we have scheduled is the May 2nd Malvern event. Good Lord, Shay, you're contagious. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that one, and we'll decide probably in the next week or two if that's something that we think we need to cancel or if we think that's something that we can do. Past that, though, our next thing would be May 15th and 16th. We have a couple events coming up with...
And actually, Steve mentioned that earlier.
Yep, he did. We have a couple events coming up. Well, it's all kind of the same event with United Believers Society. Believers United. I knew I was going to screw that up. Believers United Society.
Maybe Whiskey Wednesday wasn't the best idea.
This was your damn idea.
I'll drink to that.
I just want to point out the fact, not that you guys can see this, but... No, don't pour right in there. Chris has got this little mini-me glass, and I've got like a full-size glass.
It's a short versus a tall. She has more mixer, but we are working through it about a similar pace.
This is his fault. He is a bad influence.
A great influence.
So anyways, May 15th and 16th, Believers United Society is hosting an event.
Headed by Steve and Billy Weeks.
Yep, Steve and Billy Weeks. They are having the Southern Gypsies come in. And they've invited Chris and I to be a part of that as well. Friday night is going to be an investigation at the Granger House. Saturday night is Edinburgh Manor. So super excited about those. Sounds like Mom and Pat might join us for that as well. And then the weekend after that, assuming it doesn't get canceled, is the Des Moines Metaphysical Fair. That's an event that... I've been a part of for, I don't even know how long, to be honest. It was my very first show that I did public reading, so it's been well over a decade. But it's a phenomenal fair at the fairgrounds in Des Moines. And then the weekend after that, we have an event that we can't quite talk about yet, so we'll just stop right there. But yeah. Oh, Edinburgh is Friday and Granger House is Saturday? Well, damn, Steve, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Steve.
I'll fix it. It's in my calendar wrong because I'm a screw-up. Okay, I will fix that. Actually, assuming prom doesn't get canceled, prom is that Saturday, too. So we'll be to Granger. I'll be to Granger as soon as I can. But we're super excited about that. But yeah, like I said, Southern Gypsies will be coming out for that as well, which... If you guys don't know who the Southern Gypsies are, A, you've lived under a rock, and B, they are a freaking good time. So you need to tune in and check them out because they're super fun. Okay, so we've gone well over an hour. What I'm going to do, and you guys are probably used to this, is I'm going to do just a general card reading, and I sent Mr. Chris in to grab a deck of cards for me. And the deck that he drew is Spirit of the Animals Oracle deck. So we're going to go ahead and draw a card out of here. So this card is going to resonate with some of you. It's not going to resonate with everybody. Or
can I say it?
Or somebody is controlling.
Can I say it?
Yes.
It's the coyote.
Damn it, Chris. Quit corrupting my cards. So the card that I drew is the coyote card. It says Revealer of the Truth. Don't take things too seriously. Make time to play. Great wisdom comes from laughing at your own folly. Look out for the traps and tricks of life and learn from them. Among Native American cultures, Coyote has been called the trickster or the wise and foolish one. We have all been fooled and we have all been tricked, but it's all part of life. We make mistakes, fall down, suffer bad choices, yet learn from them all. The person that can learn will survive and thrive. Coyotes teach us to play and celebrate life daily. Coyote asks us to laugh, especially at ourselves, and not take life too seriously. Coyote medicine is associated with youthful energy, childlike wisdom, and lifelong learning. Coyote people are asked to be students of life. Coyote wisdom is seldom delivered directly, but comes from the long and winding road. Yes, we will fail, be fooled, be deceived, and worse. We may fall down 7 times, but get up 8 and win. If Coyote is your totem animal, you will be assured of success if you learn from mistakes and never give up. To laugh, adapt, transform, and thrive is the heart of Coyote medicine. I think that this is definitely something to just everybody kind of embrace right now. There are so many things that are up in the air, and this, even for those of us who try to see things on the bright side and try to stay positive about things, this is scary. And it's really easy to get down and get discouraged about the things that are going on. And, it's life can suck. I mean, it really can. And I hate saying that because that's not the type of person that I want to be. But good Lord, sometimes when you're down, that's when life decides to step in and kick you too, And I think the thing to remember is that you have to believe that things can get better, and that you have to believe that even though the outcome could be absolutely horrible, it doesn't mean that it's going to be. And try to stay as positive about things as you can. I know that's a situation that I'm fighting right now. I've got some things going on in my life outside of the corona that it's a little hard to stay positive right now, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a positive outcome, and that it's not going to have some huge negative effect on my life. And I'm just trying not to take things too serious and one day at a time. So, but it's hard, and we get that. So,
in other words, just chill out, man.
Yeah. Everybody stop freaking out.
You shouldn't
about
stop.
Toilet paper?
Yeah, toilet paper mostly. Just, don't take life too seriously. You're not going to get out alive anyways.
Yeah. If y'all quit hoarding the toilet paper, everybody will have some. Yeah, that's definitely. I get it, guys. I do, and it's so funny because I don't think I'm a hoarder mentality person. I'm not one of these people like, oh my God, the world's ending. I need to go out and buy everything.
And see, that's a doomsday prepper. The hoarder mentality is just not throwing anything away, which I can confirm she has that.
Ouch.
Sorry.
The problem with this, though, is because everybody is hoarding the toilet paper and it's impossible to find it, it has made me be one of these doomsday mentality, because now I'm like panicking. What if I run out of the toilet paper I have and I can't find any more?
I don't know if that's a doomsday
That's
prepper.
It's the
situation. Doomsday preppers have turned you into a panic buyer.
Yeah. I controlled my panic, though. When I did find toilet paper after the...
No pun intended, we bum rushed to Dollar General the other day. Because we saw toilet paper coming off of the unload truck.
Yeah.
And it was gone before we even had the opportunity to
get
to the back of the store.
We only bought 2 packages, and one wasn't even for us. Mama Pat and I had an agreement that if we found toilet paper, we'd buy one for us and one for the others. So we bought 2 packages, and we let everybody else have theirs too. So, craziness. But I just want some toilet paper and some chicken. That's all I want. Is that too much to ask for?
No, I don't think so. You want to grill some chicken after this?
It's like 9:30.
It sounds like we're grilling chicken after this.
Okay then. But I know we're making a little light of the situation, guys, but
I feel like you have to in this sort of thing.
You do.
I think that's
you do have to.
It was a good card tonight. It's making a light of what could be a heavier situation, but at the end of the day, we don't have control over it, so you might as well not let it be the end of your world.
But I am going to say, guys, make sure that you're doing everything you can.
Yeah, definitely. Wash your hands.
I mean,
it's that we need a plague to say this. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Try to keep that social distance in place. I know that they're harping all of this, and I know that we're getting tired of hearing it, everybody. But, I'm going to say from my side of things, and I can't speak for everybody, but I have a household of asthmatics. We've got lung issues that run in my family. This could be devastating to my family. So I, for one, am hoping that everybody takes this seriously, because God forbid somebody gets me sick or gets one of my kids sick and something happens. I don't know if I could do that.
Nobody panic.
So just be smart, be safe, take care of yourself, but remember to enjoy life as best you can. And what a great opportunity to catch up on podcasts. I mean, we are stuck in the house.
It's a good time to start a podcast.
It is a good time to start a podcast. And, I'm glad. I'm glad we got a chance to sit down and just kind of talk with everybody.
I like it. Whiskey Wednesday was kind of fun. I think we should do it again. Hint, hint.
We're going to have to put something in the budget for whiskey. Good Lord. This is craziness.
I mean, I know not a whole lot of other people can see this, but we put a dent.
Shay is laughing at us.
We put a dent. It's a good night. Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me co-host, I guess.
I was good. Yeah.
Co-host, yeah.
Like they said, I didn't have a lot of options for guests since I can't leave the house or have anybody else come. No, I'm kidding.
Your options are pretty limited.
I'm kidding. No, we do good. So it's been fun. I hope you guys had a good time. I hope this was something to kind of break up the monotony of your week. This by all means is not the only show that's on. Paranormal Buzz Radio has shows damn near every night of the week. Tomorrow night, I'm sure I'm going to miss something, but tomorrow night I believe is REP Paranormal with Kim and Allison. And then Friday night we have got Shay's Paranormal Chat. And it is going to be just Shay and I shooting the shit. And it is being called Friday. Is it paranormal or not? That's what we're going to be talking about on Friday. So that'll be a good time. Maybe Shay and I will have to mix a little whiskey in with it too. So, but don't bump, Steph. We had a captive audience.
I don't know if that was a pun, but I'm really hoping it was.
Yeah. But yeah, so thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Tune in tomorrow night for REP Paranormal. Tune in Friday night for Shay's Paranormal Chat. Tune in next Tuesday night for Daylight.
The Daylight Paranormal Podcast.
I am a horrible girlfriend. The Daylight Paranormal Podcast. Sorry. I need to see it more.
I'm trying to conceal my hurt.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So that's going to be super exciting. That's Tuesday night at what time?
7 p.m.
Okay. I should know this since I'm supposed to be there, eh?
Oh, that's the week after.
Oh, you're the first.
Don't worry, I'm being your keeper for that too. It's the week after.
Somebody's got to keep track of me. All right. Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Yeah, there was so many people in chat, and I appreciate you guys. I don't know that I'm even going to try to go back through chat because there was a whole lot of it. But, as always, a huge shout out to everybody who's in chat, everybody who's listened to this after the fact. Love you guys, too. Thank you so much for the support. Shay, Mama Pat, Chris, thank you guys for taking care of me all the time and being my keepers. Love you guys. Tune in Tuesday night to check out Chris's podcast. And then 2 weeks from now, we'll be back on with the Realm Walker. Yeah, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'll let you guys know before then. So, love you guys. Have a great night. Thanks, Chris.
I do it again.